NASA chief astronaut, U.S. Navy test pilot. He has spent 165 days in space before. Sadly, his wife passed away years ago from cancer, and now as he leaves for the next 10 days, he leaves his young girls behind. Victor J. Glover Jr., NASA astronaut and U.S. Navy captain, actually will be the first black man to go to the moon and beyond. Christina Cook, Artemis 2 mission specialist. She holds the record for the longest single space flight by a woman. She spent 328 days in space, just shy of a year. Jeremy Hansen, Artemis 2 mission specialist, Canadian Space Agency astronaut. He will be the first non-American to go to the moon. He has joked that if something goes wrong, NASA will have to blame Canada. Gio, what's the clock telling us right now? Oh, 5 minutes, 16 seconds.
This is getting real, Lindsay. 5 minutes away, and that's just incredible. You know, one of the other things that's really awesome about these astronauts, because I've been able to speak with a lot of them, is that, for the lack of a better phrase, they're really down to earth. Aside from being so incredibly smart, they are so down to earth. They are real, amazing people. And one of the things they all tell me, all astronauts tell me, is that the moment they get up in space and they look out that window and they see that brilliant crystal blue ball of Earth, they see us all as one. And that's where it really hits them, and it really resonates that we are one in terms of being one human race. It's just quite incredible what they say. They call it a spiritual experience to be up there and see the Earth like that. And so, as you said, Christina Cook, 328 days in space, an incredibly long time in space already. You are talking about people who are truly space vets, and they are going up there now to do this incredibly monumental task.
And Reed Wiseman, to your point, Gio, talked about being down on Earth and looking up at the moon in recent nights and thinking, the next time I see the same sight from the ground, I will have been there. And you just have to imagine, Susan, that this moment is super exciting. You've been there before. Kind of walk us through the nerves, the excitement, just the magnitude of the moment.
It is pure excitement. I don't recall any nerves. Jeremy especially, this is his first flight. So this is his first opportunity to go in space. And pretty soon, everything's going to become on internal power. They will no longer be connected to external power. And then they've got 2 minutes to go.
And we're looking at pictures of you, Susan, when you were in space. Of course, astronaut is a Greek word for star sailor. Just walk us through what's going to happen. We know that it's just going to take 8 minutes, Susan, for them to get into orbit. Give us a little preview of what we're about to see here.
Okay, you're going to see the engine flight. And for those down at the Kennedy Space Center, they're going to feel it. 6 seconds later, those rockets are going to fire once the computer has determined that the engines are working well. And then off they go. And it's almost like it levitates off the pad. It's not like it zooms off the pad. It basically levitates off the pad. And then it quickly gets up within a minute, supersonic speeds. And in 2 minutes, the rockets are going to come off. And it goes up to, I think, 4 Gs to get to 17,500 miles an hour.
Almost approaching the 2-minute mark. Just want to listen in for a moment.
From the lower stage of the rocket to internal, taking ground power away and now going to battery power.
GLS is go for upper stage to internal power.
All right, power is removed from the rocket's upper stage, the ICPS, and it's been switched to battery. Same milestone for the lower core stage coming up at T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds. Right now, the 4-person Artemis 2 crew is 248,000 miles away from the moon. And if all goes well, they will fly by it in 6 days.
GLS is go for core stage to internal power.
All right, there's the rocket's core stage. which houses 3 flight computers, is now on its own power. There's no more hold time because there's no more margin on these batteries. So we would have to recycle back to T-minus 10 to recharge if we had a hold.
One minute.
Right now, the rocket does not know what the T0 is, but coming up at T-minus 33 seconds, control shifts from the ground launch sequencer to the rocket's onboard autonomous launch sequencer, or ALS. The rocket will count itself down, but honor any holds that could come from the ground. Now, shortly after liftoff, Houston will take control of the rocket, and my colleague Gary Jordan will take over commentary.
GLS is go for ALS.
Great call out. The rocket is on its own. 4 brave explorers ready to ride the most powerful
25.
rocket NASA has ever launched.
20.
Sound suppression water is flowing.
15.
And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Good roll pitch.
Roger, roll pitch.
Houston now controlling the flight of Integrity on the Artemis 2 mission around the moon.
Integrity, AMT high.
AMT high.
On time passing 30 seconds into the flights. Integrity passes the alternate MECO. Target milestone. Mission Control Houston seeing good performance on the 4 main engines. Space Launch System core stage. Integrity, 3 miles in altitude. Traveling more than 1,200 miles per hour.
Humanity's next great voyage begins. We
Mission
just
elapsed
heard
time,
it here. The
passing 1
baton
minute,
has been
approaching
passed from
max
launch control in Florida to mission control in Houston. Gio, give us a sense of what you're seeing and feeling on the ground there.
Have you the same?
Lindsay, I cannot look away, quite frankly. I cannot look away because this is just so spectacular. You are talking about a spacecraft that has just made the entire ground here just shake. It vibrates up your body. I always tell people, make sure your feet are on the ground. Make sure that you are feeling it. And we are seeing a gorgeous, gorgeous liftoff here. There is not a cloud in the sky. All of Florida at this point should have been able to see that launch and still see this out in the sky, just as you're seeing it right there on TV right now. It's truly incredible. The sounds you feel, the emotion you feel as that vibration moves through your body. It's quite incredible, Lindsay.
A mission with so much promise. You see the faces there, all eyes looking upward, capturing this moment. The rocket boosters are about to separate. They have just separated. What a day for humanity and space exploration, Dr. Oluseyi.
Oh my goodness. I was holding my breath. I'm always both excited and scared during a launch. This is spectacular. I wish I was there.
No one really expects to be able to bear witness to something like this. As I said earlier, if you're under the age of 55, you haven't seen it. What does it mean to you to see this?
Well, this is a new frontier. We are now going back to that frontier of the moon. We are a new America. We are a new planet Earth. And now this is the next step. This is the very beginning. And hopefully this will become a common occurrence.
250,000 mile trip that they are about to take to get to the moon. Susan, give us a sense of your reaction here.
I think it was picture perfect. It couldn't have been any better. They've still got a few minutes before main engine cutoff when they get in orbit. But so far, everything's looking Perfect.
Integrity, good. Last
And
great.
Dr. Ariane Anderson, I want to bring you in, if you can hear me. Give us a sense of the physiological changes that the crew is going through in this moment.
We see the same on board, Stan.
And Houston has you loud and clear on Tidris at the common
They're
line.
thrown back in their seats, which is part of the reason that they lay down flat when they load into the Orion capsule. And then once they reach that MECO, that main engine cutoff, they'll be waiting. Their bodies will start adapting over the next few hours and the next few days to be better prepared to live and work in space.
Talk to us about the medical system that's on board Orion and the health medical research that they have. Well, first, I do want to take a listen in again. Doctor, want to bring you back in there. Same question to you, the medical system on board on Orion and the health medical research that they have access to as well.
Well, at the cornerstone of this mission really is looking at how the human being integrates into a larger engineering system like a rocket ship.
Integrity,
So,
GPS,
a lot of the systems on the rockets, they behave predictably. We can test them to failure. But the human being we often are prone to failure randomly. Tonight I could go home and have appendicitis. But then we also are resilient and innovative and creative. And so the big point of this mission is really to see how our human systems, how the life support systems help support our crew and make sure that this vehicle is the workhorse we need to be as we push further and further to the moon and further into space.
Integrity, 3 engine press.
Integrity, of course, the name that the crew actually gave their spacecraft.
Passing 5 minutes 20 seconds of mission elapsed time into the Artemis 2 mission. At this point, 3 good main engines are all that's needed to carry Integrity to a nominal main engine cutoff target. Though at this time, we're seeing 4 good engines here in Mission Control Houston. Integrity, 75 miles in altitude, 330 miles downrange, approaching 10,000 miles per hour.
10,000 miles per hour. We just saw a few fist pumps and, of course, applause there on the ground. And that capsule is the size of 2 minivans. So you have 4 people who are going to be spending the next 10 days. Of course, there's a little more space, actually, because no gravity in there. You can actually kind of float around above. Susan, I understand that it's typical for these missions for you to bring a little stuffed animal. And I understand that they have a little plushie that was actually designed by a second grader, a plushie toy named Rise, actually. And it is the official zero-G indicator, an object that basically is designed to indicate to the crew when they're able to float, because, of course, they are strapped in. Did you have something similar like that? So you kind of wait to see that stuffed animal float to get a sense of that you have reached the official zero-G.
Lindsay, we did not, and I don't know when that became popular, but as soon as the engine's cut off, even though you're strapped in, you float. So you know it instantly.
Mission elapsed time. Throttling down as we approach the abort once around option. Milestone at the 7-minute 30-second mark.
And we are about to hear
now
main
84 miles in
engine
altitude,
cutoff, or MECO.
650 miles downrange, traveling more than 15,000 miles per hour.
Integrity, AOA open.
AOA open.
The window is now open for an abort once around option that would target splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Still following nominal ascent at this time.
Dr. Oluche, give us an understanding of once they arrive at the moon in several more days.
Space Launch System core stage.
As we're hearing now, they're about to have the engine cut off in 10 seconds. They may not even have to really use their engines, because a lot of this slingshot maneuver, as we're describing, a lot of it, the pull of the gravity from the moon will bring them back.
Yes, when you are a physics student, sometimes you take a class called orbital mechanics. And what you learn is that motion in space is not like motion here on the surface of the Earth. You actually are doing orbits no matter where you're going.
We see the same on board, Stan.
Listening in for the clues to see where we are right now.
We have a nominal main engine cutoff heading in the right trajectory on the way to swing around the moon. Core stage has separated, done its job. The Space Launch System upper stage, the inner rim cryogenic propulsion stage, or ICPS, still attached to the Orion spacecraft.
Susan, it sounds like this has been a textbook launch. Everything has gone exactly as planned.
Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook.
That's exactly right, Lindsay. It was textbook.
At the beginning of their journey to the moon.
Dr. Anderson, I want to bring you back in here. I understand that you just returned from a Mars Desert Research Station in Utah, trying to understand how to survive in Mars, because that could be the ultimate step here that this mission is heading us toward. What did that entail?
Yeah, so we have a course at the University of Colorado where we take engineering students and we teach them kind of the fundamentals of medicine and how that might apply in a spaceflight environment. We believe that the solutions to a lot of the challenges around human health in spaceflight are going to require medical operations, they're going to require clinicians, and they're going to require engineers. And so our goal is to get folks together, put them through complex simulations, and start working the problem and figuring out how we can keep people healthy and happy and productive on the moon or Mars.
What are some possible medical advances in particular that could ultimately result from a mission like this?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think we want to be sure that this vehicle performs the way we expect. One thing that people keep talking about is radiation. The radiation environment outside of the Earth's atmosphere and outside of the Earth's orbit is much higher. And so we want to better understand how high energy particles might affect human beings. And that can translate back to therapeutics and approaches to human health back here on Earth.
And of course, Dr. Oluseyi, you were mentioning earlier that there is this geopolitical race. Give us a sense of why we are trying to get back to the moon before China, for example.
Yeah, you have China, you have the European Space Agency, you have a lot of private companies that are setting their sights on the moon. But yet and still, NASA is still the leader. And this is a demonstration of NASA's technical leadership. But one thing I also want to mention is we went to a visualization, and conspiracy theorists have hit on the fact that we get video close to ground, but then we go to a visualization in space. And that's because there isn't a second camera up there to look at the spacecraft. So it is not a conspiracy. It is the best you can do.
That is confirmed. Complete. We also have the visors are confirmed up.
Susan, what are you watching for as a former NASA astronaut as you are watching these pictures?
Their launch and entry suit.
I'm looking towards the next steps. So the next big one is the solar arrays deploying. And if they don't deploy, they don't go anywhere. So they come back to Earth. So every step of the way, there's a burn coming up soon to circularize their low Earth orbit before they go into higher Earth orbit.
I want to bring in historian Jim Bell, professor at Arizona State University, the School of Earth and Space Exploration. Thanks so much for joining us on this momentous occasion, Professor. You've talked before about this being a dress rehearsal at full scale. What do you mean by that?
Well, nobody has gone beyond low Earth orbit for more than 50 years. Right? So this crew, this amazing, heroic crew, I still got goosebumps. They are pathfinders, right? They're pathfinders for the astronauts that are going to go back to the surface of the moon, pathfinders for the astronauts who are going to go on to Mars eventually. So it really is historic.
Of course, we heard from Susan earlier saying at one point we're looking forward to the day when this is just about humans. But of course, this crew does represent a much more diverse humanity than Apollo did. You have the first woman, first person of color, first non-American to travel the lunar distance. What does that mean to you?
Well, look, I mean, these are incredible, heroic professionals, right? They're scientists, they're engineers, they're heavily trained individuals. They're representatives of the entire planet heading out to beyond our planet, out to our nearest celestial neighbor. So I'm incredibly proud of, all of us are incredibly proud of the work that they're doing, and the crew of the thousands of engineers and scientists and managers, administrators supporting them. It's really amazing.
And I want to bring in Cody Page, an engineer, professor of mechanical engineering at Columbia. Your reaction, Cody, as you watch this?
I'm so inspired, tearing up. I feel like I'm witnessing history. This is such an exciting moment for all of us. I'm, as a woman in engineering and I'm a Canadian, I feel especially attached to the crew that's going, and just seeing this is incredible. Really being a part of history right now.
What does this mean for space flight?
This is a huge moment for spaceflight. We talk about the Apollo era, we talk about the shuttle era, and this is truly the beginning of the Artemis era. This is a shift from humans being in low Earth orbit and our focus really being in low Earth orbit for so many years now, and going back into deep space. This is changing the focus of NASA and hopefully of countries around the world. As we can see, Canadians and there's payloads from different countries around the world that are part of this mission. This is the beginning of a new era.
It's my understanding that these astronauts are going to be able to see aspects of the moon, the far side of the moon, that have never been seen by human eyes before. What might we expect them to observe? And I also understand that they may lose communication with mission control for a period of time while the moon is blocking or kind of in between them and Earth for a short amount of time. But what might we be able to glean from them being able to see the far side of the moon?
Yeah, it's incredibly exciting. They're going to be able to see parts of the moon that have never been seen before, and part of that I mentioned before that our brains are really the most exciting part of what's going there, and they're going to be looking at geological features on the lunar surface that can tell us about its formation, about where we're going to be going at the South Pole, about how we might find water ice on the moon, which is going to be extremely important when we have the Artemis 4 astronauts go and be able to land on the surface of the moon. And a big part of going, the communication aspect of that and losing communication is being able to test this communication on the far side of the moon and be able to test in real time. So they're actually going to have scientists involved in this portion of the mission and be able to talk to the astronauts and discuss with them what they're finding. So part of that blackout is going to be the astronauts really making use of their knowledge of the geology of the moon.
And Cody, stay with us here. When NASA announced its intention